Okay, guys, so you have already learned how to fill up a withholding tax return, particularly on the creditable withholding taxes. It's 0619E and 1601E. So that was the first. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed watching the other video, and you have learned something from that video. So anyway, in this next video, I will show you how to fill up a withholding tax return on compensation, and that is 1601C. Okay, still using the EBIR forms and the EFPS. Okay, so in the previous video, you have learned how to fill up withholding tax return, especially the 0619E and 1601EQ. So those withholding taxes, as sort of recap, are used when remitting your creditable withholding taxes withheld from your purchases from your local or resident supplier. So in this video, I will teach you how to fill up withholding tax return on compensation income using, again, the EBIR forms and the EFPS. So before we go to the discussion, I really hope that you have watched the other videos on how to compute withholding tax and compensation, so you will have a know-how on how to compute these taxes. So anyway, if you're ready, let's start. So again, since we have already the EBIR forms, we have here in your home screen. So we'll just choose the 1601CV. That is the new one. Okay, so when you use 1601C that was before, that's not applicable now. So we'll use the 1601C version 2018. But before we fill this up, I really suggest that you prepare first a working paper for your withholding taxes. So I have already actually a working paper for my payroll. So this is our payroll last August. Okay, so you have here Juan, Pedro, Salomon, Mateo, and the rest. So we have I think 60 or 58 employees here. Yeah, we have 58 employees there. Um, they're receiving this amount. So if you notice in your screen, we have the weekly compensation, and then we have the monthly gross compensation, and then we also have their SS contributions, their PhilHealth, and then their pag-ibig or housing and mutual development fund contributions. So that is total of here. Okay, so remember that we are, as a taxpayer, we are the employer company. So this is our expense. Before we can claim this as salaries expense on our income tax return, we should have first withheld taxes from our employees. But looking on their net incomes, meaning the gross compensation minus the total statutory contributions or the tax base, there are only two people qualified for the withholding, and that is Juan and Pedro. Okay, so Juan and Pedro are subject to withholding tax because their incomes exceed the minimum amount, which is 20,833. So if you have watched the other videos I have in my channel, so you will know that the the very limit or the minimum amount to be subject to tax is 20,833 per month. Okay, or that is 250,000 in 1 year. So only two of them has the amount in excess of 20,833, and all the rest are considered as minimum wage earners, or those who are earning below 20,833. Therefore, we don't have any taxes, withholding taxes for them. That means out of 58 employees, we only have 2 employees here who are subject to withholding tax. Okay, so how do we compute this? So it's actually simple. You just um, deduct 26,158.46 minus the limit of 20,833 and then multiply by 20%. That's excess. So that's a tax. That's their monthly withholding tax. Okay, so again, how do I do that? Their monthly net income, that is the gross compensation minus the contributions. We have the tax base, and then after that, we deduct 2833 from the tax base, because if you happen to watch the other video, you will know it's 2833. Okay, so we have here the total gross compensation, that is 748. I will highlight this. So this is the total compensation paid to our employees, and then this is a total non-taxable compensation. And of course, our withholding taxes, we have 2,058 pesos. Okay, so again, on our part as the employer, we can only claim this 748,161 as an expense in our income statement or in our income tax return if and only if we have properly withheld the tax. And since there are 2 people who are qualified to tax, then we should remit this 2,000 to the BIR. Okay? So here, this is the total compensation, which means this includes the taxable and non-taxable component. And then we have here our non-taxable component of 46,014. So in this side, so we have here, this is our total amount of compensation, 748. That includes the taxable and non-taxable component less the non-taxable component, which represents the contributions, the SSB, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig, and we have the taxable compensation. So now let's go to the tax withheld. So this is the amount to be paid to the BIR. So now we can go to our EBIR forms and fill up the form because we already have the amount. So once you are now here in EBIR forms, again, the next step is to select the BIR Forms 1601C version 2018. So this is the latest one, the new one. So again, the deadline for filing the 1601C is every 10th day after the end of the month. No other deadline. Okay, so that is monthly. So for the month of January, that's February 10. For the month of February, that's March 10. For the month of March, the deadline would be on April 10, and so on. So it's always on the 10th day after the end of the month. So I will click here, then fill up. So after that, okay, so the part 1, the background information, is already filled up. So again, we are filing for the month of August, and then for the year 2020. And then again, this is not an amended return. This is our first time. If you have not watched the other videos, when we say amended return, for example, if you have already filed the return and then later on you realize that, oh, I have mistakenly calculated the tax, so I will amend. So you will say yes. But since it's not amended, so I'll say no. Then we have taxes withheld. We have 2,000 to be remitted. And I will just show here 0. And then my company is a private corporation. Then I'll click private for category item 11. So here we have total amount of compensation. So again, I'll go back to the working paper. That is 748,161.77. So 748,161.77. Am I right? Okay. So that is item number 14. Okay? The total compensation, which means the total amount, both taxable and non-taxable compensation. And then we have also non-taxable compensation, in which in my case, I have the SS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth. Okay? So this 46,000 represents the mandatory contributions. Here, the SS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. So I'll go back. Diyos ko, ang laga. Okay. So we have 46,014. So I'll write. So that is not MWE. Here, I'll write on item 19. Okay. So that is 46,014, 014.94. 46,014.94. Again, this item 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. These items are what or belongs to this non-taxable compensation income. In my case, I only have the SS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth. Okay, so if you have minimum wage earner, you can put that here to be exempted. And then if you have holiday pay received by MWEs, you can put here. If you have 13-month pay and other benefits not exceeding 90,000, you can put here. Okay, and so on. So we have, again, the total taxable and non-taxable less the non-taxable component. So we have item 22, the total taxable compensation income. And that is 702, which actually the same with our working paper. Okay, so after that, let's scroll down. You'd see here item 25. Okay, total taxes withheld. Again, it's an item 25. So remember that we have taxes withheld, that is 2,058.75. So we'll put that there. 2,058.75. Okay, so there, we are done. So we are now going to pay 2,058 pesos, 2,058 pesos, 0.75 for the withholding taxes or compensation. Okay, so that's it. That's how you fill up the withholding tax return on compensation income, 1601C. And then you will choose save and then validate. And then you can print this. And once you print this, you can submit now to the BIR. Okay, so that's it. That's how you fill up the return. So aside from the EBIR forms, we can also use the EFPS, and that is if you are a large taxpayer and you're authorized to use the EBIR forms. So I will show you how to, again, this is the EFPS, as you can see. So I will log in. Again, I will not enter any amount here because this is online and it might be wrongfully submitted to the BIR, and I don't want that to happen because, oops, again, 923 So be very careful when using this, especially if your boss or company is a large taxpayer, because once you have mistakenly calculated the tax here, it will be submitted to the BIR and you don't want that. So again, we are now in the main screen. So we'll choose 1601C here. So as you can see, it's only limited. Compared to the EBIR forms, there are a lot of forms, but in this case, we're given only a limited number of forms because these are the only forms applicable to us. Okay, so as corporation, there are other corporations who would see other forms, but in our case, as Hiram, we can only see these forms. So we'll click File, then we'll click Online because it's online, and then we'll file for the month of August. And again, it will show us here. Okay, so I can fill this up. August, then we have any taxes withheld, yes. And then private, then we can put here the amount, 748,161. 748,161.77. And then again, less non-taxable compensation, and these are the minimum wage earners, wage, the hazard pay received by them, and the other. So since we don't have, unlike the EBIR forms, we don't have the SS here, so we'll put the SS contributions and other mandatory contributions here in this item. So 46014.94 in there. Okay, so this is not the tax. This is the taxable compensation. So the tax required to be withheld is actually 2058. So we'll put here 2058.75. Okay. So there, we're finished. And we have penalties because the system thinks that, diba, it's September 15, and then the deadline is supposedly September 10. So the system thinks that I am filing late, though I have already filed our return. That's why it automatically compute the surcharges and interest. So anyway, I will just ignore that because I have already filed our 1601C last September 4. Okay? So that's the difference between the offline, the EBIR forms in the EFPS. In EBIR forms, okay, so it will not automatically compute the tax, I mean the surcharges. Unlike in EFPS, in the online, it will automatically compute the surcharges and interest. So again, I will not um I will just ignore this because I've filed already our 1601C last September 4. Okay, so that's it. So it is very important that you have correctly computed the withholding taxes here. You have correctly classified who are taxable and who are not, because once you have failed or you have mistakenly computed their withholding taxes, you will have a deficiency tax on that. Okay, so I will not save this. I will not print. I will not validate. I will go to the home screen. So that's it. That's how you file withholding tax on compensation using EBIR forms and EFPS. So I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I hope you'd watch the other videos on my channel. Thank you for watching.